Yo, what's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another MLB video. We're talking baseball today. You've seen the title, Juan Soto being traded to the Yankees. This is a trade rumor, but sources say that this is likely. Whatever that means, we'll see if it happens. But I'm going to tell you today, from my opinion, what it's going to take for the Yankees to acquire Juan Soto. I think it will happen, and I hate it. I hate the Yankees, but I think it'll happen, and I think it's bad for baseball. But that's a different video. We're going to tell you today about why Juan Soto to the Yankees makes sense and what it's going to take. Let's get into it. Juan Soto is, well, your 2022 Home Run Derby champion. He's also a really good player, and the Nationals, honestly, are wasting him. I wouldn't say of their own purpose, but at the beginning of this year, when they acquired players like Nelson Cruz, they said, yep, we're going to push for a World Series title. We're going to bring in some guys. It's going to be a great year. And obviously it hasn't been. They have not been good. Strasburg has been hurt. I mean, Harper left, a couple of years ago, and it's just kind of been downhill. I mean, besides the World Series, it's been downhill. I mean, of course, they won the World Series. They got what they needed. Nationals fans should be stoked about it. But now it's time to rebuild. And with a player like Soto out there, who this is a one-year deal for him, he goes into arbitration. He's going to be a free agent in a couple of years, depending on the arbitration clauses and all these things that people trade and stuff. But basically, the Nationals are not going to be able to afford him. They tried with a deal that would make him worth $29 million for the next 15 years, which is crazy. And that's probably the only way they can afford him is if they pay him, that much money for a long, long time. But there's two problems. One, it doesn't seem like he wants to, be with the Nationals for 15 years. I wouldn't either. That's why Harper left. But two, he wants more money, and understandably so. He's one of the greatest players of our generation, I think. Is he a Trout? Maybe. He's a left-hander, and he draws a lot of walks, and he hits a lot of home runs, and he hits. He's a good hitter. So I think he's worth more than $29 million, which automatically rules out 90% of the teams that could trade for him. And then we talk about adding on to that the players that they'd have to get. So let's go into that. The Yankees are one of the top teams that can get him. I think they will get him. Doesn't seem like the Dodgers are too interested. The other team that can pretty much get him. I don't think he'll sign a 15-year deal with the Yankees. It seems like this might be a try to win the World Series this year or next year kind of deal. And like I said, he's going into arbitration, or he would go into arbitration this year. So he's got, the Yankees have a lot of money in general, but they can throw it at Soto and then move on and go to another player who's a star in a year or two. So basically, it makes sense that this is the only team that he'll go to. You've got Judge, of course. You've got Gallo, who I'll talk about in a second. You've got Stanton. You've got Hicks. Who else is on the Yankees? I don't know. But so you've got some outfielders there. So obviously they can play DH too. But Soto would, have to be in a rotation. He'd be there every day. But, Hicks would have to be in a rotation or so. So, what I'm saying is they've got pieces, but adding in Soto is just going to make it that much better. And I think if you want to get right into players they're going to have to get rid of, Hicks and Gallo are on the table. The Yankees are so accustomed to bringing in a couple of players, getting rid of them the next couple of years, or at least bringing them in. I don't know. I mean, they brought in Rizzo. They brought in Stanton a couple of years ago as part of the trade with the Marlins. They bring in guys. They brought in Donaldson in a trade this year. They bring in guys, but they're not usually there for 15 years. Maybe 3, 4, try to win a World Series. So I think that it's time that they're going to do that, and they're going to get rid of some of their guys who they don't necessarily need anymore. Hicks and Gallo are the top two guys, in my opinion. They're already, I think it's so evident that Gallo's gone. There's already talks about them trading for Andrew Benintendi. And if they trade for Andrew Benintendi, I don't think they'll go for Soto, but that's, again, a different video. I think they'll go for Soto more. But they're going to get rid of Gallo. So Gallo is the first piece of this trade. I think you could get rid of Hicks, too, if you wanted. If you trade Gallo for Benintendi or whoever. You could trade Hicks as that piece, but that's your player. You need to get rid of a spot in the outfield to bring in Soto, Gallo, or Hicks is your player. Now you're talking prospects, and the Yankees don't have that many. Like, I wouldn't say they have the strongest farm system. They've got some good players, and I think you're going to have to get rid of those guys. Jasson Dominguez, gone. He's got to go. Like, you don't need another outfielder if you're bringing in Soto. You've got Judge, you've got Stanton. You're going to have Hicks or Gallo, unless you trade them both, but then you're probably bringing in another outfielder. So, you know what I'm saying? You've got like 5 or 6 outfielders. He's gone. You're going to need to trade him for Soto. And honestly, it's Soto. Like, you're getting rid of one player. You could probably throw in somebody else, maybe Kiner Falefa. You know what I'm saying? Just some guy who's decent with Hicks or Gallo to get only rid of one prospect. But Jasson Dominguez, gone. Austin Wells, gone. There's your 4 or 3 in your 4 top prospects, and your player, Gallo, who's not that great at all. There's your trade. I honestly don't hate that trade. Soto for 2 top prospects and a guy who really struggles, and you're going to be swapping him out in the outfield anyway. If that doesn't work, because Dominguez is 19 years old, he's young, he's an outfielder. If they don't trade him, which they probably wouldn't, he's probably an untouchable, but I think that makes the most sense because that's how you're going to get value. Like, that's what the Nationals are going to want for Soto, is a young guy who is going to be good. So he's 19. He's a switch hitter. Like, that's one young guy. Austin Wells a little bit older. I don't think necessarily you have to go 3 and 4. There's other guys down in the lineup. You've got Oswaldo Cabrera, who's a little older, 23 in AAA. You got Randy Vasquez, who's in AA, but again, a little older at 23. You go down, Brendan Beck Way, a little bit older as well. Those are pitchers, but you get what I'm saying is you go with a young guy in Dominguez. You go with a little bit older guy who was just a good piece, not maybe your top prospect who's going to fill out and probably do well for the Nationals because it's the Nationals. They don't have a lot of good players. But honestly, if this was my trade, I'm going for a World Series if I'm the Yankees. You haven't won a World Series since 2009, which is, 13 years ago now. You want Soto. You're probably going to lock him down for, I wouldn't say 10 years, but, like I said, if they go World Series and maybe another year, and then he becomes the free agent when he's supposed to be, like, that's fine. But if you're Juan Soto, you want to play for a good team who's going to probably win championships. If you're the Yankees, you want a player like Soto. Again, I don't think it's going to be 15 years, 10 years, but it might be 7. You don't need your best outfielder. You don't need some of these prospects. You want to win World Series, you got to pay the price for it. I would trade Gallo, Dominguez, Wells. That's my trade for Juan Soto. And if you don't say that's worth it, I don't know what to tell you, because that's who you're going to get. Now, one more caveat to throw in here. And again, if you don't want Wells, because I get it, he is a top prospect, go a little bit further down. Trey Sweeney, I don't know. Pick your poison. But you're going to have to get rid of Dominguez or at least another really good top prospect. Austin Wells, maybe, if that's your top prospect and you don't want to touch Dominguez. Wells and somebody else too. You're at least going to have to get rid of one of those 2. All right, so the other caveat is the Nationals want to get rid of Patrick Corbin's contract, which, again, plays into the whole Yankees situation. They're the only team that can afford this. I was looking this up. My goodness, Patrick Corbin sucks. He is not good at all. He has got like a 6 ERA. He's got the most losses in the MLB. He's awful. They want to get rid of his contract. So, I mean, if you throw him in the Soto deal, I think you're fine. Like, this is, like I said, this is kind of the other caveat. You go Patrick Corbin and Soto for Wells, Dominguez, Gallo, or Hicks. And then if you have to throw in another player, if you're the Yankees, throw in some other guy who doesn't matter whatsoever. Is that a fair trade? I think so. If you're getting Soto, you got to pay the price for it. And I honestly don't see that as a bad trade. If I was the Yankees and I'm trying to win a World Series, I'm doing everything I can to get Soto, even if that means I'm selling the top prospects in my farm, because Soto's 23 years old. Holy cow. He's 23 years old. And he's going to be making a lot of money, $30 million at least a year. And he's so young. Like, he could sign a 15-year contract. Again, I don't think he will. And we can have that discussion later. If he signs a 15-year contract, though, he'll only be 37, 38 years old. He's still got like 3 more years after that, at least, or so. It's crazy. So that's my trade. Take it or leave it. I'll see you next time.